This is the first ever RMU Fireside Chat, and we're really excited about having everybody here tonight. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Matt Millett. I'm with RMU. I'm in charge of organizing fun events like this, and then I do a little bit of work too. I know Chris Howard's on here, so I got to let him know I do some work as well. But I got the fortune of giving us a couple Zoom tips here for tonight's session. So obviously, we've all been Zoomed out over the last couple months, approaching a year now. So if you're not speaking, obviously mute is best. And then if you want to enable or disable your camera, that's up to you. And then finally, any sort of questions, Q&A you want to put, we'll use the chat. The RMU team will monitor it. Dave Malone's going to monitor it, and we'll get your questions asked. And then at the end, we'll have a social with just a casual Q&A that everybody could sort of participate in. So just wanted to introduce quickly the panelists. So we have Brett Kiesel, Pittsburgh Steeler. And most importantly, before I got on this chat, my daughter told me that Brett's daughter is on her swim relay team. So Brett and I are already sort of like teammates. Pierre LaRouche, former Pittsburgh Penguin. TJ told me he won a couple Stanley Cups with the Canadiens. And then I did quickly Google and I saw he was the fourth worst trade the Penguins ever made. So that to talk about. And
what's the worst one?
I didn't look beyond four. Once I saw Pierre, that was it. So, and then finally we have Andy Toole, who when I started 8 years ago at RMU, my first meeting with him, he told me we didn't have any shiny things at RMU and I wasn't doing a good job, and that was my first day. So 8 years later, we have the UPMC Event Center, and people have told me that's pretty shiny. And we won the championship in March. Everybody was pretty excited. So hopefully I've delivered on helping Andy put some shiny things on campus. And but that's enough for me. I just wanted to.
Matt, unless you put the ball in the hoop a couple of times, you didn't really help Andy that much.
Very true, Dave. But I wanted to throw it over to Chris King, our athletic director, that just wanted to share a couple words with everyone.
All right, Matt, I appreciate that. If it makes you feel any better, Matt, Andy and I met this afternoon, and he told me he didn't have enough shiny things either. So it didn't matter if it was 8 years ago or today. He's still saying the same things. But it is
keep pushing, guys. Got to keep pushing.
I like it.
It is our pleasure to welcome each of you to tonight's Fireside Chat. For those of you that on this call this evening, I haven't had the privilege to meet yet. My name's Chris King. I'm the Director of Athletics, and I will open tonight's virtual event with a few words about RMU Athletics prior to introducing our esteemed moderator, Dave Malone. I'd be remiss if I didn't personally thank Matt Millett, Matt O'Brien, Jennifer Young, members of our institutional advancement fundraising team, and TJ Brown, who serves as the athletic department's associate athletic director for development. They've done a lot for the support for this event tonight. They've assisted in setting up tonight's Fireside Chat to meet and greet with Dave and our panelists. And Jen, thanks for getting Pierre situated and squared away.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
We also want to welcome and thank our panelists for taking time in our schedule to support RMU Athletics with tonight's Fireside Chat. Tonight's event is kind of a creative fundraising idea by Dave as a unique opportunity to really kind of learn more about panelists, their personal stories, their ideas. And then also, we're also including our premium VIP invitation for a May fishing or golf outing. The date still is to be determined in the near future with our RMU supporters and a number of our RMU University and our athletic staff. We really want to be able to provide each of you premium access to RMU Athletics, RMU basketball, Coach Toole, our student athletes. We really encourage each of you to become a part of the RMU team, to which, again, we can provide premium access to VIP tickets, hospitality, and a brand new Eaton Park suite, and really experience hospitality and excitement as we opened up the new UPMC Event Center last year. Post-pandemic, we want to welcome you to join us on annual trips to national college basketball powers and our new Horizon League rivals, including our annual trip to the Horizon League basketball tournament in Indianapolis that concludes, hopefully, in a trip to NCAA March Madness annually. And so there's no pressure on you whatsoever, Coach Toole. Your support from each of you really assists our programs with enhanced resources needed to compete for championships, particularly our new conferences, the Horizon League and the Big South Conference for football, and our commitment for a championship national level basketball program. And just want to kind of finish off before I turn it over to Dave to say, on behalf of all of our student athletes, our coaches, our staff, we really want to thank each of you for your continued belief and support in our mission, our direction, really in the enhancement of our student athlete experience. And really looking forward to spending the day with many of you at the May fishing and golf outing. So at this time, I want to turn it over the fireside chat moderating duties to Dave Malone, who's chairman and CEO of Gateway Financial. Dave also serves a longtime member of the RMU Board of Trustees and is a very dedicated RMU and RMU athletic supporter. And so, Dave, the floor is all yours.
Hey, Chris, I got to take a little bit of presidential prerogative. There ain't no way the president jumping on the call without saying about 3 words. Jen, thanks for getting Pierre on. Pierre is an amazing human being. It was great flying down to the Washington Capitals game a couple years ago and him regaling us with great stories about growing up in a house where the snow went about that high, if I remember correctly, Pierre, and telling me that Scally's was your first home golf course. You are terrific. Brett, I think we have the same barber. You got more hair though, and you're a great humanitarian. Chris and Matt, great stuff. Thank you for pulling this together. Dave Malone, I'm drinking with you. Want to make sure you're not alone. Nobody should drink alone, Dave Malone. And I also want to just say, hey, it's a good day. If you didn't see the good news, we got a $3 million donation from Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix, Next Century Scholars. You know, you say, whoever thought we'd get money from Netflix, whoever thought we built the UPMC Event Center, whoever thought we'd land Chris King back as the AD, whoever thought that, you know, Andy Toole would be the kind of coach that he is. All sorts of great things are happening at this university thanks to you all support. So I'm done. And Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
So Brett, we had a poll when Chris was going to talk, and I won. We knew it would be the minute Chris stopped.
How about the second time I talked? Did you get that poll? Because I'm talking again too.
Hey, listen, guys. First of all, this is my very first fireside chat, so I have no idea how to do this or any ideas. So just, I think we want to just keep this very informal. So anybody feels like jumping in, just wave your hand. That's fine. Or you can just go in the chat room. We'll try to keep an eye on the chat room. But I do have to say, before we get started, I want to acknowledge Chris and his team. You know, we're here tonight because it's really hard for these guys to talk to you guys, to talk to anybody, to do much. The learning curve for how to run a university in the middle of a pandemic was more than a little bit challenging. They went from 0 to 60 in about a minute. They learned how to do online teaching, which they had done, of course, before, but not to the level that we've done now. It started, it stopped. We have people going, some kids coming to school, some kids aren't. Governor's changing his mind. And all through it, Chris and his team's been managing to try to do their best to deliver a great experience for our kids. And Steve Clemish, who's a trustee, has 2 kids that one just graduated from college and one was just entering college. And we were golfing one day and I said, it's an awful time to go to college. One kid just graduated with honors. He gets a job. He's supposed to be up on Wall Street making a zillion. Now, you remember your first day of work, you got your briefcase, your new suit, you're going out to dinner, you're having a ball. He's in the basement having dinner with his dad, who, by the way, isn't very much fun. And his other brother goes on to Wake Forest. He gets there the first day. First piece of mail he gets is don't unpack. We're not sure how long you're going to be here. By the way, there's no homecoming. There's no Parents' Day. And we have we're sure you're not coming back after Christmas. So enjoy your year. And you think about what that does to a kid, and how much fun we all had in those years. It's been quite a challenge. So I did, and all joking aside, Chris, I wanted to congratulate you and your team for what you've done, and sort of let everybody who's not involved with the board know how hard and difficult it's been for higher ed to find their way through this mess, along with all of us, but it's really been difficult. So if you see a kid in that area, understand what they're going through. And by the way, this happened back in 08 and 09, and a lot of kids never recovered. So we need to do whatever we can to think through how we're going to help these kids that are just getting out of school and missing all the fun that we had. I, of course, was studying all the time, but I know a lot of you guys weren't studying the whole time. So that's the end of that. So let's start with Pierre. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but Pierre is his history is astounding, and we're going to let him tell you, but he was the youngest player ever to score 100 goals. Now, think about who passes him up. A guy named Wayne Gretzky. He was the youngest player to score 50 goals. Who do you think passed him up? Wayne Gretzky. He was the youngest to score 200 points until he was passed by Wayne Gretzky. that's a good guy to keep passing you. And if you think about what all Pierre accomplished, he was the first guy to score 50 goals with 2 teams. He's scored 50 goals up in Canada with the Canadians. He is way beyond what we understand good. And I wanted him to tell you, because I've heard this story a million times, how he ended up coming home from school and then moving on to his hockey career. So Pep, and by the way, I do want to thank our 3 panelists, and they've all accomplished an awful lot in their lives, but the one thing they have in common is they don't take themselves too serious. So if there's if you'd like to poke fun at either, or you want to jump in and say anything, they would welcome it. As a matter of fact, banter is Pierre's middle name. If you ever golf with them, you understand what I mean. So Pep, tell them what happened when you got home from school that day and your mom greeted you at the door.
Well, Moses, I was staying at home when I was 14 years old because I had to go like 800 miles away from home to play. And I was like, what, 15? I was asking my coach if it'd be okay for me to go home. So he showed up that night and knocked at the door and, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. He goes, what are you smoking? I said, smoking? No. And I had one of those heavy wool sweater. In those days, like we used to roll our cigarettes, I had tobacco all over my sweater. And he goes, well, if you're not smoking, how come you got all that tobacco on your sweater? I looked down and went, oops, I got caught. But I went home. So, and my career started. Pack your stuff and go. That was it.
And how old were you, Pierre?
13.
And you got a pair of skates out of the whole deal, right?
Yeah, we had to beg for that.
So you understand he walks home from playing hockey 800 miles away. Mom said, oh, we sold you. Goodbye. Here's your bag and your skates. Good luck. And what was the name of that town, Pierre?
I was in a town called Autrive at the time, but I grew up in a little town called Amos, Quebec, and we moved away for 2 years. And then I went back to Amos, about 8,000 people.
And so from that 13 or 14, however you were, how long before you made any money?
Still not making any. What are you talking about?
You know what I mean.
Well, we played juvenile for 2 years. Junior was $750 every 2 weeks. That's after taxes. Actually, it was $10. And then I got drafted by the Penguins in 1974, 8 overall for the grand sum of $35,000 a year. So.
Well, look at you now.
But look at us, all the friends I made. You just, I mean, the beard. I mean, how fortunate can we be, you know?
And you had what, 14 years altogether?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine 14 years today. You'd be fine. You'd be fine. Yeah. Well, it is astounding what you accomplished in your career. There's, we always think of Mario because we're from here. If you look at Pep's numbers, he's right there with La Magnifique. And
you're very kind.
Different time, different media, but an astounding performer. All right, Brett. So before we talk about your football career, which we're going to get to you, tell us what your new business is, because I find it fascinating.
Well, thank you, Malone, and hello, everybody. It's great to be on here, and it's great to be part of the RMU Fireside Chat tonight. I have a lot of respect for RMU, obviously, Coach. Got to watch you guys keep up the good magic over there, and nice to meet Chris, and obviously I've been around President Howard a little bit, so it's good to see everyone again. I've been to a couple games with Pierre. We've screamed at the top of our heads, and if we won, I usually got to come back. If the Pens lost, I was never allowed back in the suite again. So it's a good thing they've been on such a hot streak, and we've got to spend some time together. But since I got done playing ball, I started I started my own company. I had some, a lot of offers to coach. I had offers to get into the media. And I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And I started Mighty Oak Adventures, which is a team building leadership company. And taken several great groups from around Pittsburgh, and we go fishing and we get outside and we unplug and spend time away from the office, do whitewater rafting, all kinds of the fun things that I love to do. And it's been an amazing adventure right off the bat. Obviously, COVID has put a wrinkle in it just a touch, but I'm pumped to get back going. I also bought a farm out in the Laurel Highlands, and so I'm running some beef up there, and trying to stay away from the black bears when I'm out hiking and whatnot. But it's I love Pittsburgh. We decided to stay here and raise our family here, and our kids are all three of my kids are hockey players. Ironically, I'm actually a hockey coach now, which is crazy. I can barely stay up. That's my goal every practice, just not to fall on my face. And I've done a pretty good job of that so far, but love Pittsburgh, and I'm proud to be on here tonight.
We really appreciate you guys taking the time. And by the way, the spring trip that Chris described is you can pick between fishing with Brett or golfing with Pierre. By the way, if you're going to golf with Pierre, you better hold on to your hat because he's a scratch golfer. I think he's +1 now. He's about as
I
good
golfed
as
with
he
Pierre one time, and yeah, I just put my ball in my pocket and I go up and putt.
Well, you notice I didn't mention your golf career, Brett. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
Where's
Let's stick
the
with
love,
football,
Malone?
basketball.
Huh? You'd golf with me too. Am I that terrible?
Well, the
Moving
problem
right
is,
along.
when you start good, the sun disappears. So
All right, Andy. Andy, I got to ask you something. So I played basketball through college, and I thoroughly enjoyed practice every day. But if I didn't have a game or anybody to watch me play, I'm not sure I would have enjoyed it so much. So what's it like when you've got to coach young kids and you start and you stop and you start and you stop, but you don't know when you're going to play? I mean, I know the wrestlers. I used to watch them practice. That looked like a horrible job to me. But this has to be a challenge for you.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and obviously we've gotten great support from our administration, but it's been hard on our guys. And I give them a lot of credit. They have been better than I would have been at their age in terms of trying to abide by all of the different protocols that we have in place and the rules and regulations. And it's been anything but a normal year. And after our first game of the year, Chris suggested that we start playing pipe in some some crowd noise because he could hear everything I said from the Eaton Park Club down on the court. So we decided that we should pump that up as much as humanly possible, because some of those timeouts and some of those player coach interactions, Dave, that I'm sure you used to, just relish in your Allegheny Gator days, they were a little bit too public. And that's one of the hardest parts. You kind of feel like you are out and you're exposed. And there were times where you would, a guy might not hear what you said, and that might have been for the better as he could have continued on up and down the floor. But like I said, our guys have been great. They've been frustrated at times, like we all have, but they just love being out there. They love being with each other. They love having the camaraderie, the locker room, the trips, and all those kind of things that we're now getting back to a little bit. And as Brett talked about how close his teams were with the Steelers, I mean, just having that locker room banner, that training room banter, I'll go down to the training room every day and guys are kind of getting themselves going with who's going to be on whose team, who's going to win today. And, that's the stuff that makes it fun. Those are the things that you missed and that you kind of had taken away from you as you were separated from the guys for so long. So just being in the gym in any way, shape, or form, I think brings a little bit of normalcy for them. The game feel has not been great. It feels almost like a little bit of a scrimmage environment. But it's the best that we can do. And our guys are working hard, and we're trying to get better, and trying to just appreciate every opportunity we have to be out there playing a game, because we've had a number of them taken away from us. And so everyone we get, we're fortunate to have.
Yeah, I remember that age pretty well, and I of course followed all the rules, but some of my teammates were a little incorrigible. So with respect to the protocols, how's that working for you?
For the large percentage of our team, it's working well. For the small minority, we've had a little bit of an issue, but at this point in time, our entire roster, other than one walk-on, has had COVID, as well as our entire staff. So we have kind of moved beyond some of the protocols. We still mask and distance and do all those kind of things, but obviously some of the use of the facilities, locker rooms, and things like that, because we've all had it and have had the antibodies, it's not as stressful as maybe it was a month ago when half of us had it and the other half hadn't yet.
Yeah.
And we were trying to protect as many people as possible.
And you have your own testing capacity out there, right?
We do. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been getting tested 3 times a week. Initially antigens, now PCRs. And that's really been a huge help. I mean, talking to a ton of my colleagues across the country, one of my good friends was supposed to play a game tonight and they had to postpone it because they didn't get the lab results back yet. So, you know, again, Chris King and his ability to get out ahead of the pack and kind of set up a testing protocol and system in place has really helped us starting back in August when we got our guys back to campus.
Yeah. I can't imagine how many times you've been tested. Kevin Colbert told me he's over 80 tests. Every time they go in and out of a room, I think they get tested.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably 50 plus.
Yeah. Brutal. That's a really pleasant experience too.
It's about as weird a feeling as you can ever imagine.
Yeah. Hey, Pep, question for you. The moving to this short season, we got 53 games. I don't know where they came up with that plan. As I understand it, it was designed to give some flexibility for some COVID burnout and to get done before the Olympics. How does a 50 game differ with no fans than what we're used to as a player?
Well, the coach is right. Mario and Natalie went to the game of Alexa the other night, and it's like watching practice, like watching scrimmage in during training camp.
Yeah.
I was curious to see how the response would be by the players on the ice, as far as having nobody around to some time to pick you up. You know, it always helps when the fans get home and they pick you up sometimes. And I didn't see much of a difference because when the game starts, you really get focused what you're doing. You don't have time to say, oh, there's no fans and stuff like that. So for me to play, as far as that is concerned, it's not dropped. If anything, it looks pretty good. But as far as watching the game without fans, it's awfully weird. It's better to watching on TV than being there in person, because in person it's really hard to get into it.
Yeah. Feels like the team's much faster this year than last year.
Yeah, we got younger players. They look good. They played well the 4 games at home. Some people say, oh, you know, you this and that, you get lucky sometimes. Well, I better be lucky than losing to get the 2 points, and the other team's getting the 2 points.
Right.
It's like something else. It's like golf, whole life. Everything evens out at the end. So if you keep playing well, everything's gonna be fine.
So do you change your thinking if you only have 50 games? Do you feel like you don't have to worry so much about getting worn out?
No, but you better, well, Crystal, thanks playing 30 minutes a game. I don't know about that, but now the thing about 50 games, you have to play well early. You can't afford to fall behind because you're only playing in the division. So you're only playing against 17.
And
the
shifts are just as short. It's not like you can feel better quicker.
A lot of games too, so you got to be. You have to play well. There's going to be a tough division to make a playoff.
Yeah. Okay, Brett, I got a question for you. It's 3rd and 6.
3rd and 6.
3rd and 6. You just finished playing Renegade. We're all looking at you because you got to get to that guy before he throws that ball. What does that feel like with 63,000 people screaming at you?
Well, Renegade lights you up like, you know, like a Christmas tree. I mean, part of it is like Pierre touched on, the fans. You know, that's really what made Renegade what it was, is because it's a spark plug for the fans. You know, it's a hype video kind of. And when the energy in the building goes through 65,000 fans like that, you can feel that, believe me, down on the field. And some of it, I mean, initially when they first started playing Renegade, weren't really sure, you know, it was just a highlight video. We didn't think it would turn into the masterpiece that it is today, but it's an unbelievable feeling. I still, driving down the road when Renegade comes on DVE or something, I mean, I get chills up my back and I start punching the steering wheel. And I mean, I can get transported right to the 4-yard line where we got to make a stop, and you know, all those memories come flooding back.
And Brett and Dave, just make sure you know, an RMU graduate was the guy who came up with that idea. Just one.
Mark Marchinsky.
Thank you very much, Brett. Just a shameless plug for good old Bobby Moe.
That's right, old Chinny. We pat him on the back all the time. In fact, he signed my barn up here, and it says Mike Marchinsky. the one and only renegade.
So Brett, whenever I look at your stats, they're impressive, obviously. But when we watched you, and I really thought your last 2 years were, at least for me, the most fun to watch you. And I've been hugged by you, so I know how strong you are. But I know the other guy on the other side, or two other guys, are just as strong. But you had some ability to get that job done, like Cam does now.
Yeah.
What do you think separates? There's something different about the guy who makes the big play than the guy who makes the other plays.
Yeah.
They're in the same boat.
I think, playing D-line for the Pittsburgh Steelers is a unique deal because a lot of our job, is shutting down the run. And we're not necessarily used to being a playmaker, so to speak. So Cam's done a great job of kind of, taking on that steel curtain level and bringing that dominance defense mentality. I think that's all it is. I mean, that's what I told Cam when he came to Pittsburgh was you have to play reckless out there. You have to play, like the steel curtain of old. Joe Green told me one time, I asked him, I said, how did you kick so much ass all the time? And he said, from the very first snap, you punch him in the throat and you tell him it's going to be a long day and it's not their day to day. And so I try, obviously I couldn't head slap, I couldn't punch anybody in the throat, but that little formula of giving someone everything you've got on the very first snap and then telling them like it's going to be a long day for you seemed to work out pretty good for me.
And do you think it would, without fans, would that be hard for you to emulate?
Hell yeah. The fans of Pittsburgh was amazing. I running out of the tunnel before a game and hearing your name called and hearing the fans erupt. And then if you make a big play or you make a game-changing play and the stadium erupts, there's just nothing that can mimic that. And I know that players now, you could see them, they try and get each other hyped and try and go over to the other one to try and create that same atmosphere. But the roar of the crowd is like unmatched with any other type of, energy booster. And I feel for these guys. I mean, you watch games and you can hear what they're saying. You can hear the calls. It's different.
Yeah. Well, you gave us a lot of gifts, Brett, and there's a lot of kids that watched you and whatever they do in life, they're going to remember what it feels like to do what you did.
Oh, thanks.
Big deal. No, thank you. It's been fun. Hey, Andy, tell us all what this new facility has done for you that Morgan gave you, and moving the new to the new.
That he gifted us. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a dramatic difference just from the day to day of our guys. It's the first time in my 14 years at Robert Morris that everything's been in the same place. You don't have to get dressed after practice to go walk across the parking lot to go to the weight room, locker rooms, training rooms, all those kind of things. Just the amenities and the experience for those guys on a daily basis is dramatically improved. Their access to train, with our practice gym and obviously the main arena, they have, unlimited access to that building to try and chase their dreams and their goals and be where Brett and Pierre were as players. And then even if they fall short, obviously they're building the work ethic and the habits that are going to sustain their lives past basketball. And, and then from a recruiting perspective, I think, people understand that we're serious about basketball. They understand that we are, trying to increase the profile of the university through basketball. When we bring, student athletes and their families into the facility, they're amazed and they're shocked at it. We just got a transfer two transfers, one from LaSalle, one from St. Bonaventure. And both of them said, these facilities are nicer than our previous ones. Right. And so those are things that I think can help, kind of attract people and understand, the level that we are trying to compete at. And obviously my background is, last year's championship game, which, was the last time many of us were together in person. And what a night that was, what an environment that was, when that place is full, The energy that everyone has described, from a crowd, can do amazing things. And I think, our team felt that night. Everybody that was in the building that night felt that. People still have come up to me, that I passed during the pandemic here. And, the last sporting event I was at was the RMU game. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to hear from people, and a pretty cool memory to have. And, the disappointing part for our team last year was not being able to be a part of the NCAA tournament. And as a coach, that meeting we had the Friday morning after they had canceled the tournament was one of the hardest I ever have been a part of. I walked in that locker room and the guys were heartbroken. It's a lifetime memory that you'd be creating by being a part of NCAA tournament March Madness. And what we tried to remind them of was how special that Tuesday was. We were the final championship game on ESPN Championship Week. We played in front of 4,000 fans. They got to cut the nets down and hold the trophy up. And, that'll be what they take with them. Unfortunately, they were robbed of a little bit of, the NCAA tournament, but what they felt that night can never be taken away from them. And a lot of other leagues across the country and a lot of other teams didn't have that same opportunity. And no one could take that championship away. The ACC crowned Florida State as the ACC tournament champion, but those guys know they didn't win it. Our guys know they won it, and they earned it. And they earned it in front of a capacity crowd in an unbelievable building. And, what a great way to cap off our first season in that building. And I think it really just kind of pays homage to all the people that put so much time and effort into helping us, play in that facility. And we couldn't be more thankful for it.
Andy, my coach from college is now 89 years old. And we just had a Zoom call at Christmas with all the old players. And we ended up going to the NCAAs twice. So we had a decent program. It was a tiny school, but it was pretty good. But when I think back on our great wins, they were great fun and rah, rah, rah. But what I think about Moats is what our coach gave us, which you're doing the same for your kids. When anybody who knows basketball and watches you coach knows your X and O's. That's for sure. But the example you give to your players is something that's really special. And I thought your shining moment, the best that you ever did, is when you had the player that had a little, he was outside of his lane and he was your star and you sat him. That was big. And I'm sure every player that ever played for you will remember that you did the right thing for the right reasons. And so I commend you for that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dave. And you hope that you can, have those kind of conversations with, your former players years down the road. And there's probably not a day or a week that goes by that you don't have some kind of contact with, a guy that I've coached now over the last 14 years,
right.
Whether it's a text message, whether it's a FaceTime or, something on a social media platform where you send a guy something. And that's what it's all about. The championships are great and those things are awesome. And, that's what we do it for, to be champions. But, the relationships are really what it's about. And, you hope sometimes as you're going through some of the growing pains and the hard parts that guys understand why you're doing it. It's because you care.
Right.
And I tell them all the time, the people that aren't fighting you didn't really care about you. Like, we care about you enough to fight you and to tell you the truth and to challenge you and to push you. And if you can just put your head on the pillow at night, even though you might not like me and I'm okay with that right now, you might understand why I'm doing it. And that's the hope. And if we can do that for a couple of guys, we've done a good job.
Well, you're doing a great job. A lot of people will be writing you letters when you're 87, you old bastard.
I know I won't be coaching because that would be far from 29 to 87 would be far too long a time to be a head coach. These things are like dog years.
Well, if you don't win this year, you may not be coaching next year. I'm just telling you.
Hey, Andy, that's a little ironic. We were having that exact conversation last night.
we certainly were.
We looked at each other after a long day and I was an AD at 36. He was a head coach at 29 and we're trying to add up the years. And we thought, oh gosh, that's a long time. And of course, my response was, that's a long time if I can make it that far to retirement, not to get fired, especially as an athletic director.
Very true.
You didn't hear that.
Well,
Hey, Andy, tell the story of the day you the day you were appointed head coach and your parents came to visit and running the security guard.
Yeah, my mom had I had been an assistant for 3 years and my mom had only been on campus a couple times, and so she came out. It was May. And she wanted to kind of see campus. And we walked into the Nicholson Center. It was an admissions officer. We walked into the Nicholson Center and they asked us if we were there for a tour. And I was like, well, I'm actually going to be announced as the head coach in about an hour. And they're like, are you sure you don't want a tour? Are you like a potential student? Because my boyish good looks, the grays are starting to come in pretty heavy. But at 29, I still looked like I was a, you know, luscious 19-year-old. And they thought that my mom and I were there looking to tour campus.
Well, don't try to look like the old guys. I certainly don't.
It's a great sign, I think, even when you think you've made it somewhere, there's somebody out there that's going to keep you humble and let you
Right.
know where you are in the world. So that was a good reminder that day.
Right. Pierre, back to you. When you,
By the way, the coach is right about a lot of things, but if it starts at the top, they're in pretty good shape at RMU with the doc in charge, I'll tell you that.
how about that, Chris?
I know you wouldn't give me a compliment, Malone. I'll take him from Pierre anytime I can get him.
I already gave you one. That's enough. You only get one. Hey, Pep, when
Yes, sir.
you played, it was a different game, and you certainly have a lot of scars. I think you had the goalies barely had masks when you started to play.
Right.
It was different. It
there
was
was no
much
helmet.
different.
No rules.
It's evolved over the years. It's a faster game. The rules are different. What do you see going forward? These guys are now 6'5". They're skating as fast as you did. They got great hands. What happens to the ice? It's too small, too many players, no room. What do you see happening?
Well, as far as the ice too small, I don't think they're going to get the ice bigger because that would lose about 2,000 to 3,000 seats, so that wouldn't be good. We thought about it once in a while. I think putting the red line back in, they will never do it. It would slow the forward a little bit so all the defensemen don't get clobbered because that extra 35, 40 feet, you got to gather speed. By the time you get to their zone, that 4D, who doesn't get helped anymore from the goalie, just gets rammed out, play after play. So they're going to have to do something to try to protect the defenseman a little bit, but I don't know what.
You don't see this 3-on-3 league catching on, do you?
No. It's fun for a few minutes, but just think of it, you know, like you work 60 minutes every night and it's difficult. And then you get the outcome of the game solved on a 3-on-3. So I like it but personally, you know, it's tough to watch a good game of hockey be decided by somebody coming in by themselves with nobody chasing, no forcing the play to try to get the extra point. So, but it's exciting though.
There's no way, we can't shrink the players, so that's not happening. There's no rule change that would help. I mean, the Olympics are fun for me to watch. I like the Olympics on a little bit bigger ice, but.
I know, well, don't forget too, the Olympics is twice. It's like every 4 years, hockey-wise, but it's only, 6 games.
Yeah.
You get all the best players together, then the best player gets together, but it's only 6 games. So after 6 games, it's, how long can you watch it? Let's say you would have 80 games of it, and you get a really bad team playing against a really good team. I don't think you would like it so much.
I see. 12-0 wouldn't be very much fun.
Right. If you're
I
home, it's
see.
fine, but if you're on the road, no.
Yeah. Interesting.
Pierre, did you play in the Olympics?
No, sir. At the time that when I started, we were not allowed to play for the Olympics. We're not allowed to play for Team Canada, overseas in the world.
The pros wouldn't let you, right?
I'm sorry?
NHL wouldn't let you. NHL would not let you play in the Olympics, correct?
No, there was no junior either. I would have loved to do that. That would have been so much fun. Obviously, a chance of playing for your team, your home country in Olympic, that would have been awesome too.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed, but it's okay. Now it's fun to watch. You watch those junior kids, the tournament just happened and you get to see who's the future of the game. And it's a lot of fun. It's you watch it, now I get really excited to watch the Olympics. It's a big thrill to watch it. And the winning the Olympics, like the way Mikey Rizzoni did in 1980 must have been just unbelievable.
Mhm.
Over the years, he became a good friend, play golf, and you just think of it. You get 20 kids out of the country. They just got beat 11-0 at Madison Square Garden a couple of nights before. So they didn't have a chance in the world, and here they are, boom. Next thing you know, they're the champion of the world. So
I was golfing with Mike, and he said, if I wouldn't have made that goal, I'd be painting bridges.
I don't think you would have made bridges. You would have shined shoes. Nothing wrong with shining shoes. Nobody get upset, please. All good, all good. Mike is
He's a funny
guy.
ass. What a nice guy. Couldn't be
He's a funny-
happier. Put one goal in and changed his whole life. It's the greatest thing ever.
Good. Well deserved on the ad.
Yeah. Hey, Brett, tell me, Dan Rooney, this is not, for all those who had the chance to get to know him, this is not a normal person. So how much did he impact how you played football, number one, but I think for all of us that know him, football was only a tiny part of Dan.
Well, it's funny you said that. I got a picture I just had Michelle grab that I have up here in my office, and it's me and Mr. Rooney. You know, and he was at every single practice, every lunch, every game, every team function. You know, he was always there. Funny story about Dan. The first time I came to Pittsburgh, I rolled into the South Side facility, and everyone's giving me a tour through the facility. And I come to this little room where this old guy is making copies in there, you know, and his pants are all hiked up. He's got white socks on, and I think a pair of New Balance sneakers, and his belt's up too high, you know. And I go in there. I didn't even hear who it was. I'd met about 500 other people that day, and so I walked out and I said to Anthony Briggs, who was giving me the tour, I said, you know, that's really cool. You guys give, you know, jobs to the seniors and keep these guys employed, and that's neat, you know. And he said, what? He's like, you don't know who that was? And I'm like, nah, who was that? I thought it was just a guy making copies. He's like, that's the owner, bro. So I was like, turn around. We need to go back there. I need to talk to him again. So
Brett's being kind about his clothes. He wore these suspenders and he had these pants on that would have fallen off if he didn't have his suspenders on. And he would walk on the treadmill. And one day, the last time he really got hurt bad, somebody changed the speed on the treadmill and he got on, he turned it on, boom, he broke like everything in a minute. You would have thought that he was the guy that was begging for money on the street when you saw Dan in the workout room.
He was a great man, that's for sure.
He was just a special guy.
But you had a chance to talk to him. I know you were one of his favorite, you and I. So what did he tell you? What did he teach you?
Well, he taught me so much. I never forget as a young player, he, you know, came to me and he said, I need you to be a leader, you know. And I was just walking in my car and I don't know, I was in my third year or something like that. I didn't know. My coach told me I was getting fired that day. I mean, it was like, what do you mean? You know, Coach Mitch just said I need to apply at Walmart. So I don't know what you're talking about. Lead who? But
that's motivation, Brett. That's motivation from coaches, right?
You know, Coach, that's right. You got to learn how to get under your player's skin a little bit. Mm-hmm. But he taught me a lot. He taught me how to respect the game. He taught me, you know, to bring my lunch pail to work every day. And he taught me to be kind too. Anyone that ever talked to him or came up and asked him a question, he tried to treat them the same way with the same respect. And, you know, he was just an amazing man and such a blessing to play for a guy in a family like that.
Yeah. Pierre, similar question to you. And when I see you and Mario, I see two. I mean, if all the kids in the world that started playing hockey, there's like none that made it to the level either of you did. And I see you two whispering at the games. You know how he does, Brett? You know, it's like, and they talk French, so no one understands what they're saying. I don't think Pierre can really speak French. I think Mario can, but I don't know if Pierre can. But when you look through your eyes as among the best, there's only a handful of players that reached your level, and Le Magnifique is in the same rarefied air. How do you look at the world? I mean, what do you think about when you watch other players and you watch the world go round when you're the best that ever lived?
Well, the
and you're best friends, and you're the best friend. There's two of you. Gretzky doesn't have any friends. You guys have each other.
Well, he keeps me there so he can yell at me during the game. That's what he's doing. So nobody knows. Brett knows. I mean, you know, the thing about all that sports stuff, it seems that for unknown reason, there's a lot of great people in it. It could be any sport. You find great people. People are running, you know, teams or whatever. Anybody. It's got so much to give. And you think that, like what just Brett said, it's the same thing for us with the Penguins over the years. You know, how can you not want to come to Pittsburgh when you look at who had played here and who's your owner And what town, this is the kind of town that people love you. You want to live there because they're making it so easy. Like Brett said earlier, the people in Pittsburgh are great. The players that play here all stay for a reason, because it is great to be in Pittsburgh. And how lucky we are through the years. When I came here in '74, watching the Steelers win 4 out of 5 Super Bowl, and then watching the Pirates and now the Penguins. We've been very fortunate. We got to see some of the greatest players ever played the sport in the greatest city we live in. So we're blessed.
Yeah, but
So,
that
add to
was,
that,
we
Pierre.
are. I'm sorry, Brett, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to add to that, Pierre, I 100% agree. You know, I try, after the Pens won back-to-back cups, you know, we were celebrating here at the house and running around, and you know, my kids are like, we win every year. We win every year. We win every year. And I'm trying to tell them, like, look, I know this is Champ City and, you know, we're in Pittsburgh, but, you know, this is a special time. Like, you guys got to understand that this doesn't happen all the time. You know, then they ended up winning it the next year. And my kids were like, what were you saying about we don't win every year, Dad? What do you mean? But it's a great city. And, you know, a lot of it is because I think of the fans and how much, you know, the fans are involved with the teams. They care about the teams. This is the greatest sports town in the world, I think.
Yeah, but imagine what all the kids that watched. I mean, you watched the hockey
Yeah,
ground.
but all the kids doesn't get to play golf with the great Davis Malone.
Yeah, that's a comedy of errors. But think about what you do when you let kids watch perfection or achievement, whether it's the you know, our cultural trust or our museums, or I mean, when you just reach for excellence and you get to see it in front of you. And those sports are easier for kids to identify with, but we have so many examples of excellence around our region that I think kids are really lucky to be born here. I've always thought my kids were lucky to be born here.
I'll never
Anyways.
forget getting to see Mario and Sydney play together. I mean,
Can
that
you
was one of
imagine?
the first games I ever went to, you know.
How about they live together? How about
Yeah.
Mario hanging around with Austin?
Yeah.
How about him playing stick hockey in the basement after a game with little Austin? And now little Austin's a scratch golfer. And he's going to try to get a paycheck playing golf.
That's
He's
one of the
a
things I
boy now.
love about hockey. Yeah.
Cody,
I
come
mean,
on. He's deep and deeper. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Ian, looks like you got a squad. You got some new guys. You got to hold on to this other guy. What's his name?
Which guy? We got about 16 guys. We got we have a senior who's doing a great job now, and I think most people know the NCAA has granted everybody another year eligibility. We'll have to see how it plays out in terms of guys wanting to either, you know, try and be professionals, whether it's in Europe or wherever, or if they want to come back. So AJ Brahma right now is our all everything forward. He's averaging, I think he's leading the Horizon League in scoring and rebounding, or if not in the top 3. He's really playing, you know, at an incredible level. He's really raised his performance even from last year, where he was an all-conference player in the Northeast Conference, and he's been tremendous. You know, we have some other veteran guys with him, John Williams, Dante Treacy, who have, you know, are helping us kind of adjust to this new league. And, you know, it's definitely a much better level of basketball. It's a much cleaner level of basketball. You know, we went from the Northeast Conference, which is a league that's ranked about, you know, usually the high 20s. There's 32 conferences in NCAA Division I basketball, and they were usually in, you know, 29, 30. The Horizon League now is about 20, usually ranked 20, 21. So it was a substantial jump in terms of just size and talent and skill. And our guys are, I think, you know, competing at a high level, where we've been a couple possessions short here in the last couple games, a couple overtime losses here, 2 overtime losses in the last week, where we were not making some free throws down the stretch of games, Dave, which I know is a pet peeve of yours. And, you know, we got to just keep working, keep recruiting, keep trying to get guys better and adjust to this new level of competition. But I know from our coaching staff's perspective, from my perspective, it's been a lot of fun learning new programs, learning new players, learning new styles, trying to figure out different ways to win and have our guys compete. And, you know, that part of it's been a lot of fun for us. And, you know, I think if we can continue to work and kind of get on a little bit of a roll and some rhythm with some practices, you know, I think we can be in, you know, playing some good basketball as we get towards the conference tournament. You know, we looked last week We had our 45th practice of the year last week, which the prior season happened on December 13th. So we are, 4 to 6 weeks behind in terms of some of our, just normal prep and routine. And we got to get some guys up to speed. We graduated 2 starters that were, really impactful players for us. And we're trying to get some guys caught up. So, but that's what makes it fun, right, Dave, is the challenge, the competition. Are your guys better than their guys? Can you execute a plan better than they can? Did you do your work in practice this week to go out and perform at a high level? And, that's what we've always wanted, right? We always wanted that opportunity to compete, and we're certainly getting that with our new league and, the schedule that we always play.
Yeah. Amazing how making a foul shot with no time on the clock changes some kid's life. It gives
Yeah.
them a
You know
level
why
of
you
confidence
always
they never
ask
had
for,
before.
is that always like that, David, that when you have a 5-foot putt, you don't want to putt it? You always ask, is it good? Or is that your Cy? I think Cy does that.
I think that when
David
I'm
just
ready
has
to
picked
putt,
that
if I think I could make it, it's good. That's the way it works.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that on Friday night. I'm going to look down at the other coach and say, is that free throw good? Can we just play on, add one to the scoreboard? See if
There
it
you
works.
go. There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Just rake that. I'll just rake that thing right away, Pierre. They won't even know it.
That's that feeling, the good look you give to your players, coach. That's positive feedback.
It is true though. If a kid makes one of those, it changes their life.
For sure.
Oh, it's like
And you
anything
would
else.
think something so silly. Now, most of those kids can make 7 out of 10 with their eyes closed, but try to make one with the clock on with no time left. And when you do it, something happens to your whole body, your whole
It
mind.
does.
It's good.
Yep.
Sports are good that way.
Yes, it is.
So, Pep, what about Sid? I mean, I think you're really good, but I think he's much better.
I think so too.
Yeah. I'm not sure there's anybody ever played the game the way this boy does.
No, he's amazing. So strong on the skates. I mean, the other night, Chara tried to get in his way, and Sid just got underneath, and Chara just got pushed aside like nothing.
Chara's like 8 foot tall. He's like 8 feet. He's like a monster. And Sid will go up square to square with him. He is not afraid of anyone.
He's amazing. He's just so strong. I've never seen somebody like him before.
Right.
The play that he makes, the thing that he thinks about. Hockey is 24/7. That kid, he eats and lives, and he's fun to talk about. Well, now we can't go in the room because of the COVID, but he's always fun to talk after a game about a couple of plays. He's like, hey, what are you thinking there? Well, obviously, you don't think when you play hockey because it's a reaction, but the thing he does is just amazing.
Have you, in your whole career, seen anybody work harder than him?
No. It's like I said, you got to hide his skates so he doesn't go on the ice. It's just loves it.
Yeah. I mean, when you see him hit the puck out of the air, he makes it look easy. Try to do it.
It's hard.
Try to do it with no one within 10 feet of you. 6 guys climbing on you, it's a little bit of a challenge. He just does it. He does it all day long.
You know what they say, Moses? You got it.
Yeah, well, he has it, but he also works. I mean, his physical condition.
I think in anything else, you want to get in top of your profession, you have to work hard. You just don't get it.
Right. Well, we're getting to the end of our hour. Oh, we're at the end of our hour. Who in the gang has some questions for our boys here?
Yeah, Dave, we have a couple in the chat here that I
Go
got
ahead.
and grab one for you. Just finishing up with Pierre there. Scott wanted to know Sid's playing, so awesome here at the start of the season. Where does the motivation you think still come from at this stage of his career?
He wants to be the best no matter what age he's in. That's all he does. He wants to be the best. He loves the game, loves his team, wants to win. I mean, it's amazing to watch. Like he's 33 now, and he played like as many as a game as 50-year-old person would be. Team Canada, the All-Star game, on and on and on. The playoff that takes so much out of you, and he still comes every year ready to go. He's amazing.
Yeah, we have another question here for Coach Toole from Kevin. Love to hear about the difference of the NEC versus Horizon play. What's been most noticeable in the first couple games here?
I mean, I touched on it a little bit, but I think, size, number one, is very noticeable. The guards that we're playing against, our backcourt is undersized drastically in the Horizon League versus being of equal size in the Northeast Conference. We're seeing, 6'4" point guards, 6'5" wings that are posting some of our smaller guards up. So that's certainly been a different challenge. And I think there's more shot makers in the Horizon League. We were talking to our staff last week and we were saying, if this, when we were playing the Northeast Conference, if the ball would get reversed maybe to the wrong guy in the wrong spot, you didn't really have to worry about him making a shot. And now you've got 4 or 5 guys on the court almost at all times that can hurt you if you're not, being able to make decisions at the pace of the game, is asking you to make them at. So, it's certainly a cleaner, more offensive driven league right now. And, we've got to adjust and we've got to work to, be successful in it.
And
Yeah, I
we'll
had another
start-
question for Brett, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go
What
for it.
about this, no more hold, no, they're not calling holding anymore, Brett. What would that have done to your life? You got to pretty much choke somebody to get a flag on you for a hold. I think it's about 30% less than 30% of what they called last year.
Yeah, we're all
There is
here.
no holding up front, really. It's all discretional on the zebra.
Yeah.
I used to put Vaseline all over my jersey right here. One of the reasons why I love those Bumblebee jerseys so much was you had the block number, right, where the numbers were in a block, and so we were smart. We had a little piece of really thin plastic right behind those numbers and have our guys sew those in so you couldn't grab a hold of them. And you got to learn tricks, right, Pierre? Coach, I mean, you got to know tricks of the trade. If you're playing some sports.
As long as they don't know you trick while you're playing, it's all good.
Yeah.
Well, they check you every time you go out. They check your jersey.
I understand.
You're not supposed to put Vaseline and stuff on. This ref literally checks my jersey. He's got Vaseline all over his hands. Looks over to strength coach Marcel, wipes it on his shirt, and then just keeps walking. I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm good. No one's gonna say anything anyway.
I'm sorry, I think you had Bud, I
Hey,
think you had a question.
Dave, yeah, I have a question. Number one, I want to make the comment that this is going to go to Pierre, but the fact is that we live in Sewickley, and one of our neighbors is Sid in one of our houses there. And my wife says he is the most courteous driver that you could ever see. And so it's kind of cool. I can go further on into the Steelers in that I married into a family where my father-in-law, who I never met, came over with Chuck Noll and was a defensive coordinator. Well, and they both came from San Diego with Chuck Noll, and they took such good care. He died in '73 on a scouting thing. They took great care of him. So the Rooneys were absolutely great. But I did do some research because I knew that Pierre was going to be on tonight. And so Pierre, my name is Bud. I'm a trustee. I'm a supporter of RMU athletics. But through my deep research, I talked to my brother, Bob Bailing.
You're in trouble, Pep.
So no, he was very nice. He was very nice with his questions. He was very nice. And obviously, so Bob and Pierre and the group, right, play a lot of golf together. And I look forward to playing with you at Laurel Valley. But his questions was, what were you most proud of in the Q Junior League? He said that you outscored Sid and Mario in assists with 157. And Mario came in second. So he said, was it that the most important, or you were the first player that scored 50 goals with 2 NHL teams? So what was his question that when I said, hey, listen, I'm gonna be talking to Pierre tonight. I'm a member at Neville Wood with everybody else. My son's the club champ. And I said, so what's the deal? So that's the question he proposed.
Well, I'll go with Junior because I don't know how to say that. Mario and I talked about it the other day, and it's never going to be done again. I don't think that nobody ever is going to score 130 goals in 64 games. And I don't think somebody just get 157 assists in 67 games. I don't think so. It could be done. I hope it's done one day. But for me, that was that, and just the fact that I got to do what I was dreaming on when I was 5 years old, playing outside at minus 20 degrees in my hometown to play in the NHL. So the night that I stepped on Minnesota and looking at Cesar Maniago and all those people and just staring it down, that Pronovo came over. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "The sweater looked nicer in person and on TV. They have a great sweater." He looked at me and said, "What are you doing? Get back. Get back. We're about to play the first game of the year. Your first game in the NHL." I thought it was amazing. Just like, wow, said Freddie. Yeah, Junior.
I hope everybody heard. I hope
salute to your
everybody
career.
heard those numbers. Pierre has done something no one has ever done, and he just does it, and he doesn't talk much about it. You understand? He was playing at Neverwood. You'll like this, bud. He's about to set the club championship. He's on 17. Lightning comes, so they stop play. Everybody else goes into the restaurant, and they say, "Oh, you'll be able to play. Go back out in 15, 20 minutes." Pierre said, "I got to go. I'm going to the gym." He's about to set the club record at Neverwood. He didn't care. He plays he loves what he does. If you play golf with him now, by the way, he's my guest many times in the member guest at Laurel, and he completely shits the bed every time we play. I just want to make sure that we're clear about that. But every time we play, he's sure he's going to make that next shot, and he loves every minute of competition. He's a very, very special guy. And
Love Laurel.
Yeah,
Love Laurel.
for Pittsburgh to know that a guy like he and Mario just walk around and whisper to each other, and there's no one better. And then right behind him is Sid. He's carrying the clubs back there. It's an amazing. We are very, very fortunate to have the three of them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your question, bud. Did you have another one? Does anybody else have a thing? Don't be shy.
We had a couple more in the chat there, Dave, that we could grab. One of them for everybody. Somebody wanted to know, as you're gearing up for the big game, whether it be an NCAA tournament game, the Super Bowl, or the Stanley Cup, basically, how do you get mentally prepared for one of those big events? Is it any different?
More intensity, that's about it. I mean, you got to be intense during the year to get where you get. So it's not something all of a sudden you go, "Hey, let's go." You have to be, you got to put out every night. And obviously, bigger the price is, bigger the game is, more excitement is.
Right.
Yeah, you try and stay to your game plan. You try and stick to what got you there. You don't try and change too much, but you also understand that this is the best game on the, during, and that everyone, not just in America, all over is going to be watching. That can be a little intimidating and, make you study your plays a little bit more, make you go over the film a few more times. But, I tried to really just stick to the things that I'd done before. I wore the same clothes all through the playoffs because I was so superstitious. And, I'm nuts like that, but I just try and stick to the things that have worked to get me there and hope those things can carry me through one more game.
You did it more than once, bad boy.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean,
Well said.
what about you, Coach Toole? What do you
Well,
got?
from the coaching perspective, it's I think worse. Having played in NCAA tournaments as a player and as a coach, being in championship games as a player and a coach, it's worse as a coach because you have less control, and so the anxiety, the feeling you get as that buildup is going on is certainly a challenge to kind of keep your wits about you. But like Brett said, you're trying to make sure that you're prepared to make the right decisions, late game situations, special situations, substitution patterns, and all that kind of stuff. You're trying to, address those things and make sure you're as organized as you can be so you can make some of those decisions prior to all the pressure really hitting. But it was more fun when you were a player because you could be out there competing, but it's still a lot of fun as a coach. And especially when you get in those environments and your team really kind of takes ownership of the situation and they, execute game plan. I told our team this year, our semifinal and our final game that we played this year, I don't think we could have played a better 80 minutes of basketball. And as a coach, it was like maybe a once in a career, or hopefully more than once in a career type situation where I really could just sit back and those guys took over the entire situation. The communication in timeouts, the communication at halftime, the focus. I mean, whatever way the message was delivered, they were so locked in from a mental perspective. They wanted to win so badly. They received everything and they absorbed everything you were trying to tell them. And they had a look in their eye and a feel to their movement that they were not going to be denied of their opportunity. And, when your team kind of embraces that and takes that feeling on, it's so awesome as a coach to see. And, in my 11 years as a head coach, it's happened a handful of times and hopefully it happens, many more times, but it's so much fun to see those guys fully embrace that moment and go for it and just play the way that they're capable of playing, to the highest levels of their potential.
It's not an accident, bad boy. Coach has a lot to do with that. Good for you.
And Dave,
Anybody
we had one more question here for Pierre. Playing in the late 70s, Broad Street Bullies, some players in the NHL. Who was the toughest guy you played against, Pierre?
True. In the 70s, there was a lot of them. Obviously, Philly had a really, really tough team. The toughest one.
Bobby, Pep, tell him about Bobby Orr when you wanted to get a signed stick. You wanted to get a signed stick from him.
No, but, well, actually, it was in Pittsburgh. And this goes back to what it is. Like, pretty much anybody in the world is pretty neat. It's like it goes with sport. Bobby Orr was. I was 19 years old, barely could speak. I asked him, he goes, no problem, signed it. And the funny part, the next game in Pittsburgh, I got my first hat trick against Boston. And as I leave in the ice, she went by, slapped me in the ass. She goes, pretty good game, kid. Called home, told my mom. I said, Bobby Orr told me I just played a pretty good game. So.
Who's the guy that cut you? Who's the guy that you asked for an autograph and he cut you?
Oh, Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe. That's what I was thinking of. Tell him that story.
Last game in the Montreal Forum, I said, Mr. Howe, can I get your stick after the game? He said, yes. There's about 4 or 5 minutes left. Bang! I get hit in the face. I turn around, it's the old man. He goes, I didn't think you remember me enough just with the stick. So he cut me for sore stick just so I had a better story to tell, That's how crazy he was. Crazy.
In a different world.
Like again, there was a guy named Bob Gazoff that his career got stopped early on with a bike accident he had at a party after the game in St. Louis. I think him and Battleship, Kelly, that we have in Pittsburgh, they were tough guys, but they were a lot of tough guys. You got to keep your head up.
Who was the black enforcer, the guy that we had to
Reeves.
enforcer we hit for a little while?
Reeves that went to
there's a film, there's a famous, you can Google this one. At the opening puck, there's a guy that says, as soon as it hits the ice, let's drop the gloves and go. And he's a real polite guy. He's a very Christian guy. And he said, I think that would be a really bad idea for you. I don't think you should do that. He said, no, let's go. So he dropped the puck. He dropped them. The guy split his face open and they hauled him off the ice. He said, I told you it wouldn't be a good idea.
Somebody that you don't want to drop your gloves against, that's for sure.
No. I can tell. Let me tell you who I want to drop my gloves to. Nobody.
Nobody. And that's a good idea.
It hurts.
Yes, it does.
I think our time's come. I got to thank you three for taking the time to spend with us. I don't know if this is something you guys, audience, enjoyed or not. I think what we'd like to do is try to find, I don't know if there's 3 interesting people like this in the world that we could pull together, but I think it's a good idea to do our best to stay in front of our friends with some interesting conversation and some laughs and maybe a couple glasses of wine. So this is our kickoff. I'm encouraging Matt and Chris to do this on a regular basis. So if anybody has any ideas, I would like to retire as the Fireside Chat person because this is not what I do. But Pierre, thank you so much. Brett, it's great to see you again. Thank you. And Andy, thank you, and good luck with this, whatever's left of the season. So
thank you so much for having us, Brett. It's always
Thanks,
nice.
everybody.
and we'll see you guys in the spring for sure. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks so much.
For
Appreciate it.
moderating.
Hey, David,
Let us
great
know what
job.
you think.
Great job, David.
Let us know what you think about this
Absolutely.
format.
Last question from your brother.
All right, man. See you, Pep.
Hey,
Love
Dave,
you.
hey, Dave,
Okay.
just so you know, Clemish has already given his comments and he's got Fireside Chat number 2 lined up.
Yeah, Clemish.
Love
Let's
it,
do
love
this.
One and done.
Let's all do this. Here's what we're gonna do. Whatever
You got it.
Clemish plans, we're all gonna boycott. No one
Well,
comes.
Next time.
He
do
has-
it
if
by
he
a
has-
fire.
If he has like Colin Powell or somebody we
Moses.
really like, we're still not
Moses,
going.
next time, step aside and make the fire behind you so it could be in a real fire chat room, you know?
I have my fire. I'm good.
Where is it? There's
Right
no,
there.
oh, wow, that's good. Gee,
I'm gonna put you in it.
no, come on now.
All right, guys. Thanks very much.
Okay,
Everybody have a
later. Hey,
good
thank you
night.
very much. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck, coach. See you, Pierre.
So much.
Keep winning.